Here's a useful lesson for you. Give up.
School of Beards, Chapter 4, The Fall of English 2, Electric Boogaloo. Hello again, ReddX. ReddX Industries, lovely readers, and the trolls that definitely lurk among us. This is the first post since Red started reading this series. Lovely job, by the way, Red, as usual. Thank you so much. Before we get too far in, subscribe to ReddX, because he deserves the love! I mean, nobody really deserves anything in this old world, but I would be appreciative. Anyway, all that being said, I'm doing my best to keep these events in the order that they happened in the school year, but some of them might be out of order or overlap with other parts to make each story cohesive in its own right. This one felt a little bit choppy to me, but Beetle insists that it's fine and I should post it, and I'm sorry if the writing isn't as good as usual. You good, fam. It's gonna be fine. Cast list. We got OP, Beetle, We1, English 1 teachers, Sonia, Gabby, Pitbeard, Avidbeard, English 2 teachers, English Beard, COVIDbeard, Callie, Dulce, English 3 teachers, Daria, who is the English department head, English 4 is Winnie, there's also Mr. Principal and Miss Dean. I'll do another long form cast list for part 5. Until then, let's get back into it. I mean, that's a lot of people. That might be very long form, but I don't know, you do you, I guess. So we had just come back from winter break, and the department was looking a little bit thin. Yeah, we had lost Rainbow Beard, Allison, and 2 other teachers. On top of that, we were short-staffed to begin with, but this was something else. I didn't really register what until I saw Callie later in the day looking really stressed. "What's wrong, mate?" I asked. "Oh, like nothing. We just have no English 2 teachers on like campus anywhere," she said. I blinked. Wait. What? "Well, Allison is like totally gone, and both COVIDbeard and English Beard are out with COVID, so it's just like Dulce and I carrying all of English 2, Callie explained. Dulce was a special education teacher that did inclusion support for English 2, basically Beetle's English 2 counterpart, except that she didn't teach resource. COVIDbeard has COVID again? This is, what, the 4th time? I asked. Bro. How you do that? I ain't even caught it once yet, knock on wood. It's mostly because I'm terrified of other people. Social anxiety keeping me safe. Something like that. She's like totally out more than she's even here, Callie said. I think she just has like perpetual COVID, I said. Yeah, something like that. So anyway, yeah, like totally no English 2 teachers. It's like great or whatever, Callie said. Lovely, I nodded, and that's pretty much how it stayed for the next 2 weeks. What was worse is that neither of them had left any semblance of lesson plan, and because their team meetings were so chaotic, Callie and Dulce didn't even know what they were supposed to be doing with the classes. Not that that was their job, they were support, not classroom teachers. One day after school, I decided to do a check-in with Wee1. "Wee1, how's English?" I asked. "I have English?" she asked. I sighed. Ha ha. "Seriously, we never do anything. It's just like study hall," she said. "But you're in advanced. You're supposed to be getting ready for both state testing and next year's AP English 3, I said. Wee1 laughed. Yeah. No, we haven't really done much of anything in English Beard's class since October. What? Why didn't you mention that before? I asked. She shrugged. I figured English Beard knew what he was doing. You figured you were just supposed to not do any work in advanced English? I asked. I don't know. I just read my book in there. It's boring, but I didn't really think much about it, she said. I hung my head. Child. No! I mean, why rock the boat, you know, if it ain't broke and that? What should we be doing? She finally asked. Something to prepare for state testing at the very least, I said. Oh, I'm ready for that, she said. Yeah? Oh, good. He did some test prep? I asked. Wee1 laughed again. No, I'm ready because I'm in advanced English and I got myself ready. I sighed. Not okay. She shrugged again. Teenagers. Yep, I get it. When English Beard finally came back, I gave it a few days for him to catch up on things, and then I decided to go and have a little chat with him. Englishbeard, can we talk? I'm here as a parent, not a teacher, I clarified. He nodded and motioned for me to sit. What can I help you with? I sat down. First of all, I'm happy to see you back. I am glad that you are better. That said, I do have to say the fact that you didn't leave any lesson plan and Wee One has been bored in here is concerning. I understand. I'm sorry about that. Should have had lesson plans done before winter break, and I didn't. We'll be making up ground, and it won't be to the detriment of the kids, he assured me. I do appreciate that, but I started, and he cut me off. On top of everything else, Allison's gone, and COVID Beard and I have to handle her classes until they can hire someone, and I'm the only one with advanced classes, and it's just a lot, he said. Okay, again, I get that, but the kids are suffering because of it. And according to Wee One, this dates back to before Allison turned in her notice, I said. I haven't been the teacher that I should have been. Okay, acceptance is the first step. But now I'm back, and I assure you that I will be getting the students on track, Englishbeard said. I'm here as a parent, so I'll be honest, your classes are your business. I care about my child and her being ready for state tests and to go into AP English next year, I said. He nodded. She's very bright. She'll be fine, I can promise you that. Great, reassurances. And if she does happen to flop on the test, then what? Who's answering for that? Okay, Englishbeard, thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing her progress in your next class, I said as I left. Now that this was on my radar, I was going to be paying much closer attention to Wee One's English work. Of course, I didn't have to try very hard because every ESL meeting with Callie was starting off with her venting her frustration about her English 2 meetings. It's like totally getting more ridiculous, Callie said one day. What now? I asked. Englishbeard and COVID Beard have totally decided to give everyone in Allison's class the same grade across the board. What? She sighed. What? Why? How is that fair? I asked. It's totally not. They just don't want to grade any more work. Dulce and I even offered to help with grading or whatever, but they totally won't budge, Callie said, clearly infuriated. What grade are they wanting to give? I asked. 85s. Just an 85 for totally everyone, Callie said. What? No. What about the students that regularly maintain A's? This affects their GPA and it's a core class. I totally no, Callie cried in response. You've got to talk to Miss Dean about this. This is not bloody okay. They need to do their damn jobs and grade the students on their merits, I said. That's not all, Callie sighed. Oh God, what? I asked. They're not even on the same page with lesson planning, and Englishbeard had decided to just use the same lessons for all of his classes or whatever, regardless of level. So regular English and advanced are doing the same thing, but COVID Beard is just doing her own thing altogether. There's no cohesion or collaboration happening. It's a total mess, Callie vented. Yeah, go talk to Miss Dean, mate. None of this is okay, I said. I decided not to do anything about this myself. Not yet, anyway. English 2 wasn't my circus, and the only real dog that I had in this fight was Wee One. I continued to ask her how her class was going and listened to Callie vent about the lack of planning or thought going into any of these classes. From what I heard, the situation only continued to deteriorate. Students were now just walking out of Englishbeard's class because they didn't like him. I decided it was time to do a check-in with Wee One again. The fact that all this is still happening is slightly shocking to me. They just won't let it die. How's English class? I asked. Wee One shrugged. Everyone's mad at Englishbeard again. Oh, what for this time? I asked. he read this poem about this girl that was dressed like really slutty and boys wouldn't leave her alone. It was actually pretty gross, she said. I blinked. You're kidding me. When did this happen? Last week, she said. And you didn't tell me because? I asked. I don't know. Guess I didn't think about it. Besides, ever since he just sits at his desk and watches gaming videos on YouTube, we aren't even doing anything in class, she said. Okay, that's it, I said. Beetle touched my arm. Love, what are you gonna do? I already talked to English Beard. It's time to move up the ladder, I said. Meaning? He asked. Meaning? We're gonna have a parent meeting with Daria, and if she doesn't handle it, then we'll go to Ms. Dean and then Mr. Principal. This is absolutely ridiculous, I cried. I agree, but we have to remember, we work there too. Very pragmatic for Beetle. I know. I'm not gonna do anything to risk our jobs, but I'm just sick of my kid not getting the education she deserves, I said. Beetle nodded. Okay, schedule a meeting with Daria and we'll go from there. When I reached out to Daria, she was all too happy to meet with us. She came to my classroom after school a couple days later, and Beetle was there as well. What can I do for you guys? Daria asked. Well, first of all, we're talking to you as parents, not English teachers, so this is specifically in regards to Wee One, I said. Daria nodded. Understood. That said, I also realize that because I'm a teacher here, I kind of get a peek behind the curtain that other parents don't see, so I'm in a unique position that way. However, to be blunt, we are concerned that Wee One is not being prepared for class next year or the state tests, I said. Beetle nodded. It's come to our attention that English Beard is not, following the curriculum in a manner that, would provide test readiness. I looked at Beetle. He was always looking for the most diplomatic way to say things. I nodded. Yeah, and if she's not ready for the state test, then she's certainly not ready for your AP English 3. Daria nodded. As you're aware, there have been some challenges in English 2 this year. Trust me when I say I've spoken with all the teachers involved, and I'm aware of what's going on. Or lack thereof, I interrupted. Daria chuckled. Yeah, and lack thereof. The good thing about Wee One is that she already has a love of reading, and for AP English, that's half the battle right there. I'm also aware that we'll have some foundations to set that they may not be getting this year, and I will take care of that right at the start of next year. So, what you're saying is that you know what he isn't teaching, and you feel you can make up for that ground and get them ready for the AP tests? I asked. Daria paused. She was choosing her words carefully. I know what I need to do to ensure my students are ready for AP tests. I nodded. Okay, I understand. If it puts your mind at ease, I'm paying attention to English too. And as far as Wee One, I have no doubt that she'll be ready for state tests, Daria said. I nodded. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Anytime. If you have any other concerns, let me know, Daria said as she stood up and left. Feel better? Beetle asked. I sighed. I guess. I felt like it was a lot of non-answers. It was a bunch of diplomatic answers. She knows there's a problem and she's gonna continue to watch it. Bloody Americans! I'll never get used to the way they talk around issues, I sighed. Now don't get me wrong, I love my life in America, but there were some things that would just never be normal to me. The lack of directness that most Americans have ranks pretty up there for me. In Australia, we are far more direct. We will just say what we mean. 2 countries with millions of people, that's way too broad a brush for me to bother with. Not everyone can be Aussie, Beetle laughed. Having lived in Ireland, Australia, and the USA, he had learned to adapt to pretty much any culture. I didn't feel great about the situation, but I also knew that there wasn't much else that I could do. English Beard was gonna do what he was gonna do, Beard's gonna beard, and that. But in the midst of all this, I noticed one other thing. Every single time I walked past Mrs. Dean's office, he was in there, chatting. Not about work, it looked casual, just a chat. And when Beetle and I arrived on campus early on a teacher workday, Englishbeard had stopped Miss Dean in the hall and was talking to her. And when we had any sort of teacher lunch, Englishbeard sat with Miss Dean. Suddenly, the fact that he was getting away with all of this seemed to make a lot more sense. The plot thickens. Englishbeard had gone out of his way to ingratiate himself to Miss Dean. Now, did he do this because she was his boss? Because he was tired of being called racist, and she is black, remember? A step to move up the chain of command, or maybe even a combination of several reasons? Well, that I couldn't answer, but I did know it was a really bad look, and it confirmed to me that there was definitely something amiss with this whole situation. I'm intrigued. Does this feel like an unsatisfying place to end the story? It's not. It's got a good hook. You did well. Yeah, that's how we're feeling during this time. A lot of limbo, anger, frustration, and overall dissatisfaction with solutions or lack thereof. This was when we realized that things with Englishbeard weren't good. I never defended him as a person after this, although I do maintain my position about his original sin, and I never did hold that against him. Anyway, stay tuned for Chapter 5, in which we get into my wonderful time co-sponsoring GSA with Pitbeard. Until next time, take care. Well, that's not quite the fall that I expected, but I guess the plot is thickening up. He's not gonna let himself be removed so easily. Tenure, don't you know? So let's get into the next part, why not, and we'll just see how that one goes. School of Beards, Chapter 5, The Pits of Working with a Beard. Yeah, especially if they got body odor. Hey there, ReddX Industries, and other seekers of cringe. It is I, Emerald Aussie, and I'm back with part 5 of School of Beards. I'm gonna get into a long-form cast list here in a second, but first, gotta give ReddX some love. Yup, thank you. Subscribe to his channel if you haven't, because he's a good bloke, and his readings are among the best. I don't know, top 5 maybe. If you read/listened to parts 1 through 4, then you should probably remember the cast, but I've been keeping it real short, so let's just do a little recap. OP, you remember. Beetle, you also remember. We won. It should be pointed out she's a sophomore in high school, and president of the No Place for Hate Club, which was sponsored by Beetle. Pitbeard, legbeard that thinks the world's out to get her, has a chip on her shoulder because she's teaching English 1 and thinks she deserves to teach English 4. She's a perpetual victim of something, be it age discrimination, sexism, biphobia. If none of these fit, well then admin is just out to get her. She has a shrill voice and forgets that she's a teacher and isn't there to be friends with the students. Also had an intense obsession with Harry Styles, to the point of covering one of the bulletin boards in her classroom with his pictures. That isn't relevant, just something that I always found odd. Very odd. Suspended adolescence is real, isn't it? Callie, best work friend, kept each other sane. She'd vent to me about Englishbeard, I'd vent to her about Pitbeard. Wee One loves the voice that ReddX picked for her and says while laughing, Red did Callie wrong. Yeah, maybe. I used to live in California, right in Sun Valley. I knew actual Valley girls that talk like that. Media Beard, you might remember him from part 1. I mentioned him briefly. He's the AV broadcast teacher, and he really cares more about being popular with his students than teaching them anything. I actually really like this bloke as a person. He's one of the good beards, for the most part. As a teacher, he drives me up the bloody wall, though. He's Wee One's teacher this year, and it is frustrating. During the story, she wasn't in his class yet. Dulce, English 2 sped teacher, too sweet for her own good, really. The beards in English 2 walked all over her, and that was frustrating to watch. Miss Dean, administrator over the English department. I didn't realize how two-faced she was until I left the English department this year and Callie ended up resigning. Some stuff went down, but I'm getting ahead of myself. At this time, I had a deep respect for Miss Dean, and I thought that the feeling was mutual. Yeah, but she's kicking it with Englishbeard in the last part, remember? Birds of a feather, you remember? Mr. Principal, our quote-unquote fearless leader, he is an amazing man. Maybe overly diplomatic sometimes, but I guess in his position, you have to be. I'll be real, that's not how I do it. I probably wouldn't last too long, but that's not how I do it. I respect the hell out of him. I just wish he was more straightforward sometimes. He's very good at saying things without actually saying them. Those are the main ones for this story. Of course, anyone mentioned before might be mentioned again, and with all that, all standard Beard story warnings do apply. But you're probably safe to eat a sandwich though. This isn't like Chris Trucker style cringe. This is just like frustrating political job activity cringe. And so, after all the dust had settled, Rainbow Beard was gone, and I was co-sponsoring GSA with Pitbeard. Lovely. Before the first meeting of the club, Pitbeard wanted to meet with me to make sure that we were on the same page. I highly doubted that was even possible, but I had told Mr. Principal that I would make this work and try to mentor her, so I agreed. One day, after school, she walked into my room. Okay, so we need to make sure that we have the same vision for the club, she said as she sat down. I looked at her. We already met with Mr. Principal. He and I share a vision, and he expects you to be on board as well. What? That we change the whole club? She asked. I shook my head. No, that we bring some decorum and purpose to the club. That we teach the students to use their voices in a positive way to bring about some real change. That isn't what kids want, Pitbeard said. I suppose not, when right now they get to run amok and do whatever they please, I said. They want to do things. They were talking about a craft or something, Pitbeard said. I sighed. And that's fine, but this isn't art club. This is GSA. We need to do some activities that are relevant to the mission of the club. The club doesn't have a mission, she snapped. It's supposed to. Mr. Principal made clear what he wants to see from us, I said. I don't care what he wants, she yelled. I paused. Honestly, I was expecting her to ree at me right about here, but she didn't. I just looked at her. I did not appreciate being yelled at. It's clear to me that we're not gonna be on the same page. We're just talking in circles, so I see no point in continuing this conversation, she said as she stood up. I'm going to do what Mr. Principal expects. That's the page I'm on, I said. Pitbeard rolled her eyes and walked away. So much for being her mentor. And that's fine, you already got your foot in the door. Just proceed to make it so awkward that she'll quit. And then guess what? You got your wish. I was sitting at my desk fuming at the way that she had spoken to me when Callie and Dulce stormed into the room. Like, how the hell did he get a team lead position? Callie cried once the door was closed behind her. Does he not realize we're certified teachers and we have our own students? We're there to support students in special programs, not to be his TA, Dulce echoed. Clearly, Callie was still dealing with English Beard's shenaniganery too. What happened? I asked. English Beard seems to have decided that, like, Dulce and I are his teaching assistants or whatever. He's having us, like, make copies for him or, like, supervise class so that he can do, like, whatever it is that he wants to do. And we're even writing his lesson plans for him and COVID Beard, Callie fumed. And they don't use the lesson plans that we write. They're still doing their own thing off the cuff anyway, Dulce added. Well, are they at least finally teaching something? I asked. Callie shook her head. Like, not really. He's giving assignments sometimes or whatever, but mostly he's still just like watching YouTube, and Dulce and I are left to teach the kids. You're there to support him, not to do his job, I said. Like totally, Callie nodded. Okay, and what about classes where there is no inclusion teacher in there with him? Like Wee One's class, I asked. Callie shrugged. Like, I don't know. Time to check in with the child again, I sighed. Well, at least you don't have to work with Pitbeard on GSA. Callie raised her eyebrows. Like, what happened there? She, quote, doesn't care what Mr. Principal wants. She's gonna do what she's gonna do, I sighed. So, like, basically continue to let the club run totally wild or whatever? Callie asked. I nodded. Yeah, more or less. That's why Rainbow Beard recruited her, to make sure that I couldn't restructure the club. But my principal asked me to do this, so I'm going to do my damnedest to make it happen. Okay, but don't they see that like restructuring of the club and giving the kids some purpose is a good thing? They're definitely evil. I just want to know if they're consciously evil. What's even happening in this department? Dulce asked. Chaos. Just chaos, I said, sadly. Finally, the day came of the first GSA meeting with Pitbeard and I as co-sponsors. We had made sure that we moved the club meetings to my classroom because I wanted the home field advantage here. Students arrived, and soon enough, Pitbeard started the meeting. Okay, y'all, time to circle up, Pitbeard said, as she pushed my tables aside to make room for a circle on the floor. I decided to let this one go for the rest of the year. Again, trying not to change things overnight. We would keep this circle thing. It is rather infantilizing though, isn't it? It's like a half step away from 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. You remember when your teacher would say that? My teacher said that. Anyways, I pulled up a chair, turned it backwards, and straddled it. Oh, that's cool. Did you wear a backwards baseball cap too? I wanted to look informal and sit with the kids, but I didn't want to sit on the floor. Should have brought the baseball cap. That's what ingratiates you to kids. Hey kids, let's rap. Okay! As you know, I'm Miss Pitbeard, and that's Miss Mandy. We're so happy to be your new club sponsors! I know you all miss Miss Rainbow Beard, but I assure you, this club isn't changing, Pitbeard said. I blinked. Well played, Pitty. Well played. I needed to pipe up quickly. Not much, anyway. Some changes will need to be made, but at the end of the day, what matters is that this is a safe place for us to gather. For now, let's do the circle. I'll go first. I'm Miss Pitbeard. My pronouns are she and her. I'm bisexual. And one good thing is I get to go to a concert this weekend with my boyfriend, she said. We went around the circle with the kids repeating this pattern until we got to one kid that said, "Hi, I'm Pete. I'm like totally gay. And one good thing is like I got to go to Ren Fair last weekend." You didn't say your pronouns, several of the kids chastised. It doesn't matter. We're not forcing anyone to share pronouns, I said. Pitbeard looked at me, but she nodded. Right, it's a choice. Thank you, Pete. Miss Mandy, it's your turn. I nodded. I'm Miss Mandy, I'm bi, and one good thing is that I get to be your new sponsor. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. We finished the circle, and I was about to give them the guidelines for the meetings when Pitbeard cut me off and started asking them how the governor's new guidelines against trans-affirming care for minors was affecting them. I cringed, because this is not something that we should be addressing. I mean, if they brought it up, then we could let them discuss it, but this was not something that teachers needed to bring up. What ended up happening is that the students took things way too far. I can't recall, is this a public school? Because that's like a real quick way to lose your government funding. It's awful. Who's he to say my parents can't allow me to get on hormones? One kid asked. He's just an awful man. He's like a total transphobe, another said. Language, you guys, I warned. Pitbeard shot me a look. The kids ignored me. I sighed. Things continued to escalate until one student said, I want to like drag him down the stairs of the Capitol and beat him to a bloody pulp, and then we'll like totally hang him up on the front lawn. Baby edgelord, anyone? Yeah, we've taken to calling them fledgelords, and there's a lot of them. Excuse me, no, we don't talk that way. We can discuss a disagreement of ideas, but we don't make threats of violence. That's never okay, I said firmly, glaring at Pitbeard. Pitbeard made a face. Yeah, that's not okay. I could see it pained her to agree with me, but even she had to admit that things had gone too far. Okay, next step. Admit you never had control of this situation and do the right thing and hand it over to a real adult. And this is pretty much how the rest of the meeting went. I was never given a chance to go over guidelines for the meetings. When the kids were gone, I looked at Pitbeard. That was interesting. We really shouldn't have brought up a political discussion like that, I said. Even OP taking the brunt of it, we shouldn't have brought it up. I didn't bring it up. But I guess being accusatory's not gonna get you as far. It was relevant, Pitbeard said. It got out of hand. If the kids bring it up, that's one thing, but we can't do that, I said. It was fine, she said while gathering her things. I sighed. Well, next meeting, we have to go over the guidelines for club. Well, I have to go to yoga. See you later, Mandy, Pitbeard said, cutting me off and bolting out of my room. Bloody hell, I sighed to myself. This was only meeting 1. On the way home that night, I asked Wee One how English class was going. He just sits at his desk all the time, Wee One said. This confirmed what Callie had been telling me. Okay, well, are you at least trying to use that time to work on homework for other classes? I asked. Wee One looked uneasy. No, ma'am, I sighed. I expect you to be productive during class time. Okay, I will, she agreed. If she wasn't gonna get anything out of English, the least she could do is get something else out of that time. I was not happy with English Beard, but I also felt like I was running out of options. Basically, I just decided to focus on making sure that Wee One wasn't falling behind, even if I ended up having to teach her myself. Now that's some good parenting. The next day, I was in my classroom during my conference period, and there was a knock at the door. I looked up and saw Media Beard, so I let him in. Hey, how are you? What brings you all the way down here? I asked. I heard you took over GSA, Media Beard said. I nodded. Yeah. Congratulations. I didn't know you'd been wanting that, he said. Thank you. I'm very excited, I said. I'm actually here about the club. I'd like to feature the club in a segment of the school's news, he said. Wow, that sounds great. I'm sure the kids would love that, I said. Okay, we have to be careful how we do it. That's why I came to you and not Pitbeard. She isn't gonna rein these kids in, and you will. Last time we did a segment on GSA, Rainbow Beard was involved, and Mr. Principal got several phone calls from angry parents, Media Beard explained. What? That must have happened on a day that I didn't have a class to show it to, because I do not remember that, I said. Basically, one of the students went in really deep about their gender identity, and Rainbow Beard was sitting off to the side, and it appeared she was coaching the student. To be clear, she wasn't, but that didn't matter. Parents were furious. I really don't want a repeat of that, so if we could find a way to promote the club in a more, toned down way, that'd be great, Media Beard said. I nodded. I can't believe Rainbow Beard allowed that to happen. What am I saying? Of course I can. Of course she put no stipulation on how far the kids could go, and didn't help the student come off in a way that would be widely accessible. I appreciate you giving us another chance, Media Beard. I promise I'll do my best to ensure that it's smoother this time around. Does Media Beard not edit this footage? What the hell is going on? You're the editor! You have the final say! But he just wants to pass the buck, like, yeah, I don't know, it's Rainbow Beard. It's not, bro. But Media Beard says, I trust you, Mandy. I think you're a great teacher. And you know how to keep it school appropriate. Thanks, Media Beard. I'll talk to the kids next meeting and see what they can come up with, I said. And I did bring it up at the next meeting. The kids seemed excited about the idea of producing a segment for the school news. Pitbeard looked at me. Why didn't Media Beard ask me about this? Pitbeard asked. I shrugged. No idea. Maybe you weren't in your room at the time and I was the only one he could find. I tried and tried to get the students to plan how they wanted to do this segment. They did not. They left the room, played Cards Against Humanity, which is not exactly school appropriate. And one student asked if they could use my computer to play music. I saw what was happening. Things were devolving back into the chaotic dance club that GSA had been under Rainbow Beard. It's time to nip it in the bud. It's time to act, OP. No, You cannot use my computer. The teacher's desk is my space, not for you to touch, I said as I locked my computer and went to bring students back in from the hall. You love to see this, don't you? It's a huge task, yes, but OP's up for it.
Oh, the kids are fine out there. I told them they could go out there,
Pitbeard said. Are you going to supervise them? I asked.
Yeah, sure,
she said. Spoiler, she did not. I turned my attention to the Cards Against Humanity kids. They were using some not very school appropriate language and discussing some not very school appropriate topics. Guys, we're still at school. I know this isn't a class, but we're still on campus, and there are 2 teachers in here, so let's keep the language appropriate, I said. Yeah, sorry, said one of them as they went back to their game. I noticed some girls filming TikTok videos in the corner of the room. We're not filming TikToks right now, I said. The girls sighed and put their phones away. It was impossible for me to set down any rules or keep this club focused on a single task with Pitbeard undermining me at every turn. The most I could hope for was to keep the noise level down and keep my classroom from ending up on TikTok. The next day I had a meeting with Miss Dean. I decided I could handle 2 beards with 1 stone. And this seems like a good place to stop. I promise this whole series isn't about the GSA conflict. It was a big part of my dealings with Pitbeard, but there's more stuff to get to. Next time, we'll find out more about my dealings with Miss Dean and check in on AvidBeard. For the record, AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination and is a nationwide college prep course. I didn't go to college. To me, it means Avid Media Composer, but it's cool to learn different stuff. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you as well for coming along with the ride. I promise there's much more to come. Also, Wee1 has written her own take on the English beard incident, which I hope you'll check out over here. Oh, the cinematic universe is expanding. Until next time. Yeah, the personal subreddit r/ReddX reads is popping lately. There was a long break for the holidays. I get it. People off doing their stuff. But now that the holidays are over, there's just an influx, and you love to see it. Good stories all around. I am frustrated with Pitbeard, but it's clear she's gonna get her comeuppance soon enough, you know? Like Mr. Principal walks in the room. Oh, guess what? It's all over. Then he also points the finger at OP and says she failed as well, but I don't know. If I can't have GSA, then nobody gets it. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you for watching as always, friends. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. I'd appreciate that. We got all kinds of links down in the description. Follow me on things. I'd also like to thank my Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members for being there for me. If you can support alongside them, that's huge. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then, friends, bye-bye.